What's up, guys? It's Mike and Ryan from Sky's the Limit. We recently posted a YouTube video with some of the things that we disagree with about Dave Ramsey, and it actually got a lot of comments, mainly negative comments, trying to debunk what we're saying, but a lot of stuff we do agree with Dave Ramsey, so we just want to come on here and read some of those comments out and maybe talk about it from just a real estate perspective.
Yeah, and in fairness, I think a lot of the people that follow Dave are really just trying to get out of debt. And maybe they aren't real estate investors, and that's kind of why they didn't understand our angle. And to be honest, maybe we don't understand theirs.
Right.
So.
All right, so one comment says, these guys have zero understanding of risk. Factor risk management into your calculation, and your house of cards falls.
Fair. I wonder how many investment properties they've either analyzed or done due diligence on. One thing, there's always risk in any investment, I'll say. Whether you're in the stock market, you're buying real estate, maybe you're opening up a new business and you're going to do Turo for cars. There's risk in anything you do. If you are of the mindset and you're super conservative, go put your money in a CD and get the 4 or 5%. But as far as real estate, there are riskier asset classes in real estate and there are not so risky asset classes. We primarily invest in multifamily rental properties. And when you're underwriting these properties, you do factor in what's called a vacancy factor. And this is usually 5 to 10% for any multifamily apartment building. And I know we got some comments on what if another financial crisis happens? And sure, it could happen, absolutely. The reason why we invest in multifamily versus maybe luxury apartment buildings, huge commercial buildings where it's a shopping center, a strip mall, or a retail center, is someone's always going to need a roof over their head and a place to live. And we don't like A-class luxury apartment rentals because those are the first to get hit during a recession. People with very good W-2 jobs are the first to lose their jobs, and then they ultimately have to go to a cheaper apartment. And so we primarily invest in the C-class apartment buildings, maybe inner city, where there's some housing vouchers available. And for us, it's the least risky option as far as real estate's concerned.
We're not crazy sophisticated investors, right? We're doing real estate, we got multifamily apartments, right? People have heard of this type of investing.
Yeah.
What's the other type? Stock investing, right? Everybody knows stocks. Invest in Apple, invest in Google. Those are the other sort of types of investments that
blue
people
chip
know,
stocks.
right? So to me, that's more risky. Somebody across the pond could say boo, and it totally upsets our stock exchange, right? To me, that's so much less control. The properties that we own and manage, if something happens there, that's on us.
I love having a physical, tangible asset that not only can I get the cash flow from, because that's why most people invest, I can also have the write-off of my taxes through depreciation, and also I can have appreciation. Name another asset class that you can depreciate, you can get the appreciation, and also you can have the cash flow for everyday living. I
don't know.
You can't do that in the stock market. And there was a well-known author, Brian Portnoy, who once said, diversification means always having to say you're sorry. And the premise behind it is that if everything you own doesn't hurt you, then you're not properly diversified enough. So you should have a little bit in everything. Have a little bit in real estate, have a little bit in the stock market, maybe you have a little bit in emerging markets or small cap equities, or maybe you're a crypto and you have a little bit there, and maybe self-storage, and there's a million different things you can invest in, but have a little bit in everything and maybe not put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
I just want to know if your multi-million-dollar portfolio is yours or partially owned by the bank. Dave fully owns everything. Do you?
That person who made that comment is absolutely right. The bank owns our buildings. We put down 20 to 35% on our initial down payment, but they have a first position note. So if there was a foreclosure and we couldn't make our payment, the bank is taking that back, 1,000%. But comes to due diligence and underwriting that even if we had one tenant leave or two tenants leave, we can still afford that mortgage payment. Maybe we're not putting any money in our pocket at that point, but we can at least make our bank or our mortgage payment.
Our portfolio is worth $10 million. Let's just say, for sake of example, we've got 30% equity. $7 million is what the bank has financed. So what you're saying is that we should have spent $7 million. Let's just say that $7 million is out at 7%. What we're saying is that we would rather finance it, have a bank hold $7 million at 7%, so that we can now take that money, use it elsewhere to earn more. That's the basic premise.
Yeah.
So if Dave owns hundreds of millions, which is crazy impressive.
Yeah, very impressive. If we had $300 million,
he has crushed it. He is rich AF, and more power to him. Let's just say Dave was like, you know what? I feel like buying a shit ton more of real estate, and I'm going to leverage my $300 million portfolio. If he got leverage at 70% and someone gave him $210 million, he could then literally take that money and go buy the whole country. There's a lot of leverage in that.
The thing about this comment is that no one would ever get started in real estate investing. The average Joe does not have a multi-million-dollar bank account to just deploy to 1 or 2 or 5 million properties. Doesn't matter. So if we both had that mindset where I bought my first property for $260,000, I came right out of college, and I don't have $260,000. So if I'm of that mindset where I have to have no bank debt and I have to buy it cash, I would have never ever bought that property, and would have never led me to the $10 million portfolio I have today. Yes, do I own $10 million worth of real estate? No. But do I own $3 million? Yes. And it would have never happened if I never bought and used bank debt on that original $260,000 property, putting 10% down. Doesn't matter. I would have never gotten that. I would have never appreciated it. And I would have never captured that appreciation, which in my mind is free money, right? And I would have never been able to deploy that to my next property and go up and up and up. And now my original $260,000 purchase, which I only put maybe $10,000 I had at the time down, I've now turned that into $3 million. How do you do that without bank debt?
Carry student debt for the rest of my life. Got it. Thanks.
Yep, saw that one. I think you said on the original video that what was the average rate for student debt?
5.8%.
Okay, so my basic thing is no, I quite honestly, I wouldn't carry that debt forever. Why would you? But why pay off your, say, $30,000 in student debt, right? When you can not do that, table that, take your $30,000 instead and go buy a property that's earning you 10%. Now you're earning 5% over what you would have paid off. If you can buy an asset that's paying you 10% and you can table the thing that's costing you 5%, to us, that resonates. That makes sense.
It's just a numbers game. This is why people get stuck in the hole and lose out, is because they allow their emotions to get the better of them. If you just take it from a number standpoint, pay off the higher interest debt, and then eventually you can pay off your student at 5.8% debt.
A lot of people seem to think if a recession were to come, and since the bank owns a lot of your real estate, what would happen? People seem to think you're going to go out of business.
What we find what we've had the most success in is multifamily apartments, in the C-class multifamily apartments. These are rents anywhere from $1,000 to $1,200 to $1,300 a month. And usually there's 1 to 2 to 3 people living, working people living in these buildings, or per unit. If the whole world blew up and, there was some financial crisis, and people always need a roof over their head, they always need a place to eat, shower, go to the bathroom, do whatever. They always need a place to do that. Maybe they can't afford to buy a house, so that's why they're renting. The chances of everyone under this one apartment building stop paying rent at the exact same time is very, very low, and it's a risk I'm willing to take on for the upside potential, right? For the cash flow, for the appreciation, for the depreciation and the write-offs. Listen, if you're buying a one single tenant building, Stop and Shop's your only tenant, and there is some big recession and they don't renew their lease, yeah, you are going to be screwed, right? It's going to take you a very long time to find a new tenant to fill 60,000 square feet of commercial retail space. But we're not buying those buildings. I think there's a point in everyone's portfolio that maybe those should, obviously people own them somewhere. But for us, it's the multifamily, and you're kind of spreading out your risk through the different units you own.
You can never just totally evaporate the risk. It's always going to be there. But retail tenants, commercial tenants that we get personal guarantees. Do we want to go after you personally if you don't pay your rent and sue you and take your house? No. But we have that as a backstop so that we could, if you went out of business and you couldn't afford to pay, or any of those things that could happen.
Yeah.
We can't take it to zero, the risk, but we put these backstops in to sort of help mitigate it.
Yeah. At what point do we want to be debt free, right? Maybe never. Maybe my goal is a 100-unit portfolio, and until I get to a 100-unit portfolio, I'm going to leverage bank debt. Maybe that's my goal, right? Maybe someone's goal is just 5-6 units, or maybe one apartment building. Well, maybe you could pay off that apartment building in 15 years. I can't get to a $100 million portfolio right now in 15 years without using bank debt. And if I get there, maybe I'll pay it off.
And in fairness, these people that are making these comments, which many of them are not wrong at all, maybe their goal is to have the debt collectors stop calling their phones, no more bills in the mail. Maybe their goal is to just pay these things off. And to be honest,
that's fine.
If that's their goal,
then
knock yourself out. But for us, as real estate investors, our goal is what we're doing,
right?
What we're investing in.
It's to acquire more income producing assets. We're not just buying single family houses that are vacation homes, right? That, are not bringing in any income. Everything we buy is bringing in income. Everything we buy.
This is not going to the casino and rolling the dice. To me, that is not what this is.
It's a very calculated decision. It's not, I'm going to buy a property tomorrow and go close on it. It takes 30 to 45 days. Not only do I have to agree with it, the bank also has to agree with it. The 08 days are done. Like, underwriting for banks are really stringent. So if we think we have the best due diligence in the world, the best underwriting process, and we've factored everything, the bank is double checking our numbers. And not only that, they have a third party called an appraiser who the bank hires to triple check our numbers and their numbers. So you got three sets of eyes, quote unquote, looking at these properties you're buying. And if you can't buy it, the bank's not going to lend to you anymore. I mean, 08 hurt a lot of people.
Dave Ramsey says, don't buy a house with someone you're not married to. Lots of comments from moral to religious, but in summary, we'll take this one. The marriage advice is solid. You're setting people up for failure. If you buy a house with your girlfriend, you're a dumbass. No way around it.
So do I stop becoming a dumbass in 5 months when I'm married to her then? Does that change? It might. Maybe it does. I could be wrong.
It's a good point, because you're getting married soon.
Yeah.
And you own a house with your, fiance.
Right.
But girlfriend. She was a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Then a fiance. Now she's going to be married. So, right, at that point, you're not dumb.
Listen, that is a personal preference. Personally, I saw a future with this woman. I felt comfortable going and buying a house with her, but even if, like you said, it gets messy regardless. I think it just comes down to personal preference. I don't think there's anything wrong with the person who waits till marriage to buy a house, and I don't think there's anything wrong with the person who doesn't wait till marriage to buy a house. We are living proof of that.
Nowadays, as opposed to when maybe Dave was coming out with a lot of those comments originally, people are not really getting married when they're 21. Like, when you hear high school sweethearts, it happens, but it's not like it was back in the day. So people are putting marriage off till their late 30s. That's a thing. So if you're of this mindset, do you just wait until you get married when you're 40, 50, when you've wanted a house for the last 20 years, but you've held off because you're not married? It just doesn't make sense.
The biggest one I think people sort of agreed with in the comments was, instead of getting a 15-year mortgage, get a 30-year mortgage, you mentioned, and then just pay double payments. But the counter to that and some other comments was that most people are not diligent enough to actually do that they're going to take that extra money and put it towards something else, a depreciating asset, a car or whatever. So what's your take on that?
I guess if you cannot log on to your mortgage provider and set up an auto payment for what would be a 15-year mortgage when you have a 30, and just hit send and watch it come out every month, if that would be too much, I'm not sure.
You shouldn't be buying a house. Honestly, if you...
That's all it is.
Yeah, you're going to have your mortgage payment most likely set up on auto payment. So whether you're in a 30-year and it's on auto payment, or a 15-year, so say you get the 30-year, but you know what? I want the flexibility. I'm going to pay it off as a 15-year. You can easily run that calculation, and we can help you if you need help. Set that auto payment on a 15-year, and then if things get tight financially, health reasons, whatever, you can stop that auto payment and then just go back to your 30-year schedule. Don't stop your mortgage payments, but stop paying it at a 30-year. But just set it that one time as a 15-year, and then you'll get used to paying it as a 15-year, and that payment, and then your lifestyle hopefully will change to that 15-year, because now you don't have that extra $400 or $500 a month. But if things got tight, it's just a click of a button to go back to a 30-year payment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Lastly, you guys got called clowns more than 5 times.
Wow.
Love
Nice.
it.
I think the biggest thing was people were saying you were just doing this video about Dave Ramsey just to get clicks and just to grow your channel, and that this really has nothing to do with your industry. And
Many, many years ago, I used to religiously watch Dave Ramsey. Not because I believed in what he's saying, but I think he has an awesome show. He has an awesome show. He has a great audience. They would call in. I would love to listen to those calls. He would coach them. I thought it was very entertaining. Thought his show was incredible, but I think he's doing a disservice to anybody that is following his content for the debt relief, but also wants to be a real estate investor. I think that clearly he has an incredible following, because we got jumped on by like a good number of people. And to be honest, I was not expecting that. And more power to him. He has really built an army, literally. But at that same token, like if there are real estate investors in his army, I think that he might be doing them a bit of disservice. If they're looking to scale a portfolio, if they're looking to buy a handful of rentals over the next 10, 15, 20 years, there's a good likelihood that they maybe could do that in cash. Like there is that possibility. But like if you want 100, 200, 1,000 unit portfolio, I just don't think you do it based on his principles. I don't.
I think he applies to 80% of the population. We want to speak to the other 20% because we are active real estate investors. We're living, breathing it, doing it every day. And Dave Ramsey comes up in a lot of discussions, whether it's with Ryan's lending clients or my brokerage clients. They're always like, oh, you know, Dave Ramsey this, Dave Ramsey that. And I'm always refuting what they're saying. I'm like, no, but think about it like this. And so that's why we wanted to come on here, is because we're having these conversations every day. And a lot of people are like in the Dave Ramsey army. And I'm like, well, there's actually more. Like if you can stop and see the other side for a second, you know, maybe you can become more educated. And that's the whole purpose of this. It's just straight education.
That's a really good point. I cannot even begin to describe to you how many people bought places in cash. Because I do hard money. I do purchase and rehab loans, right? Like amongst a myriad of other things. But like so many people buy a property in cash because it's like, I can do this. I can buy it in cash. And it also needs rehab. And they blew all their money on the purchase. And it's like, okay, well now what? Like I still need to rehab this thing. It still needs 50 grand in work. I feel really good about buying it in all cash. I don't owe anybody anything. But now I can't even afford to fix it. And now they come to me and now I give them a loan that they should have gotten in the first place. Happens every single day.
You don't win
every
some
day.
award. You don't win an award for buying something all cash.
People are. It's a good point because like people are so. I bought in cash.
Yeah,
like, they're
cash.
very proud. Like,
all right, baller. Like how many more properties can you buy in cash?
it's
Right?
good. That could potentially set you back years because you just blew all your money on this one property.
Yeah, we are actually living proof of that. We bought a $2.2 million building last year, thinking to go bigger and bigger and bigger. And now we haven't really bought that much since because all of our capital is tied up in it. And that is a great, great, great learning lesson that we will personally take. And it's not a mistake. The building does fine. Okay, cash flows. It's doing what we wanted to do. But we haven't been able to scale to the portfolio we want because all of our capital is in that one building. So
Would you be comfortable talking about how much like equity versus bank finance in that building you just mentioned?
we bought it for $2.225 million, and the bank made us put 30% down. Since then, we've invested about $500,000 into that building, so call it 2.75 is money invested in it, plus you have closing costs and stuff. It's worth $3 million today.
Anything else you want to say to the commenters who definitely came out in droves to your last Dave Ramsey video?
I think that there's a lot of like merit in what Dave's saying. I think that a lot of what he says is really good for people that, like I said, they want no more debt collection calls, like no more voicemails from debt collectors, no more invoices in the mail. They just want to get everything paid off, and that is their goal. If that is your goal, Dave is a
Don't
great
listen
guy.
to us.
Yeah.
'Cause we're not going to tell you, pay off all your debt. It's not a bad thing.
If you want to get into an investment that can earn you more than, let's just say, your 5% that you owe on your student loan, you're looking to maybe double that to 10%, and you want to get into real estate investing, then I think what we're saying holds water.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we are normal, average people that don't come from, huge sums of money. So I think we appeal to the average Joe who's working their corporate job that just wants to either be financially free. Think about how long it would take you to be financially free through real estate if you bought everything in cash. For someone making even $100,000 a year, that would take forever. Well, I appreciate everyone's comments and thoughts. It's it's a great conversation. I think there's two sides of every argument, certainly two sides of this coin. So if you have any more thoughts or comments, be sure to write in. We love doing these videos, and I'm a believer never be the smartest person in the room or on the internet, whatever. So keep them coming. So just remember, sky's the limit. Dive deep and invest in how you want to live. We'll see you next time.